Hello, happy January 20th, MLK Day. Everybody is ruining my Martin Luther King Day for me to celebrate with all my black friends and my white friends that aren't racists.
Listen, folks, I know there's a history here.
Just kidding.
I'd like to get this hearing in today. You know, everybody needs to just focus on the relevant facts, okay? I know there's a history here.
For the record, Court TV has completely lost their fucking ever-loving minds. Court TV is on the list right now. It will be the first what the fuck in this rant. Court TV, this one's for you.
Are you talking up by Sunset Mart?
Absolutely ridiculous.
Up the hill by the gas station?
Yeah.
Okay. Why did you...
Oh, don't worry, we're going to be going there as well.
All right, who's responsible here? Who's responsible here? Whose house is this? Yeah, haven't been drinking or anything, right?
No.
Okay, drive careful, okay?
Will do, thank you.
This is what the other group had that ran away.
Oh, really? You just ditched it? Awesome.
Yeah, those ones kept walking in the car and the other one.
It's truly for the win.
That I was given to. So there was 2 different discs. Okay? They all knew about it. They sure did know about it. Adding to the stage here. Listen up for the cheap seats. Listen up right here. Why we were having this suppression hearing.
With what the CDRs would be.
As an investigator and performing an analysis work done in this case, when you have the CDRs, the call detail records that tell you where a phone's been, is that useful in directing your investigation to what other evidence might be out there, like videotapes?
I have to qualify my answer to it because I'm not sure if you're asking specifically for this case or in general. Yes, you map all of the data. And especially if you're going to justify 6 months worth of data on somebody's cell phone, you map every single connection that there is in those records. From what I have reviewed, the FBI mapped 6% of the data that came in. Mallory's testimony and what I've seen through here, he was up to about 18%. So by either standard, more than 80% on both accounts were never mapped or accounted for. And I'm not talking overall from every single day for 6 months. I'm talking about the time frames that are chosen. So for example, this time period that's represented here is where I'm getting the 18%.
And that's the 48 hours.
This is specifically from 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. on the morning of the 13th, arguably the most critical time period of this entire investigation.
3% the FBI did. 3% during 2 to 6. 3%. 18% done by Mallory, but that was way after the fact, right? 3% between 2 to 6 a.m. Now, Court TV, they have it royally backwards. They posted 2 days ago and said, oh, looks like Brian Koberger and his defense team want to switch up strategy or change it up and do something different by asking the judge to have an open hearing. This is Tina with What the Fuck Translation Services. What the fuck are you talking about, Court TV? Brian Koberger has asked for every hearing to be open to the public. So for Court TV to think that this is a change in strategy why you would ever listen to Court TV talk about that case ever again, and I'm going to blast it here on the big screen for you guys to see, you would be making a horrible mistake for them to think that Brian, for the first time, oh, wait, but let me tell you this. They know that it's not the first time, so it's called propaganda. It is called bullshit. It is called, who the fuck do you think you are? That is a flat out bold lie. You are lying to your viewership. Now, I may make mistakes, but I will never post something with the intent to lie. How could I possibly be following this case and begging to get my own camera in that courtroom like they have been and possibly get that wrong? That Brian wants to change up strategy and is asking for an open hearing. Get the fuck out of here. Brian's lawyers put that on a piece of paper just to with extra reinforcement to say, hey, this is a suppression hearing. There should be no even reason that we have to ask for this to be public because it's a public proceeding. But we're going to go ahead and just make sure that, this isn't lost in translation here. And that somehow you try to royally fuck this man and not have it be a public hearing for his suppression hearing, which is this Thursday. Now listen up.
They mapped a handful of connections. When I say a handful, they mapped 18%. When you add the other 82%, it tells a much more detailed story. When we put the drive test data on top of that, you can get even more refined. But to answer your question on any case, that's this case. On any case, and we teach best practices. We've established best practices going back to 2008 in law enforcement of what you do with this type of data.
I want shots of everything.
It is a terrible practice to justify probable cause for this very detailed call detail records that give breadcrumb-like trails for individuals and then not map it. We justify an entire probable cause statement saying we have to have this. Not mapping it and then making decisions and work products with leaving that out is extremely problematic.
Did you just hear that? He uses the word to justify probable cause. If you're using this shit, it is extremely problematic for the prosecution. And that's exactly why we were having a suppression hearing. And then Ashley Jennings, step on up, girl. I'm going to roast you as well. So let me repeat what Court TV said. And I had something to say to them. Court TV thought they could, tell us lies. Court TV, they posted in their community page. It was 2 days ago. So if you go to 2 days ago community page, hashtag Brian Kohlberger's defense is changing their strategy, motioning to make their next hearing open to the public. Kohlberger is charged with 4 brutal murders and may face the death penalty. What do you mean may face? He is facing the death penalty. May face. This is a capital case. Who the fuck is writing for Court TV? Defense is changing their strategy? I mean, I about fell over because can somebody go get this job? Because whoever is writing for Court TV, I have no words. I have no words. 3 days ago. And you have 427 thumbs up. Well, you can take those thumbs and shove them so far up your fucking ass. And then here's my comment. I said, first of all, you are so misinformed, it is gross. Every court hearing, the defense has made oral or written notice to have the hearing open to the public. This post is truly a testament to your uninformed coverage of this case and then pushing a false narrative. That's what I think, Court TV. Not too many people think as highly as me. And I got 1 thumb up. Do you think I give a fuck? No, I don't. Then I had some broad email me saying, hey, I'm doxing you on Rumble. You think I give a fuck? My name is Lana motherfucking Oriani. All right? You think I give a fuck? You keep being atrocious on fucking Rumble. Fucking idiots. Say it and spray it. Lana Oriani. Yep, that's me right here. Fucking putting up my government name. I think she put my birthday and age too. And I have to say, I still get carded, so I think I look pretty good for my age. Fuck them. Anyways, today's Martin Luther King Day, so I don't know about you guys, but Yuri wants to make sure that 5 people got a green membership badge. So I know the inauguration, I thought it was happening at 1 or 2. Was it at noon? Oops. So then, now Ashley Jennings for the roast session. I believe that we were given, it was right here. So why I'm saying the names that I say in the title, those are FBI. So the FBI did 71 subpoenas in this case. So federal grand jury subpoenas, 71 of them. And then they were attributed to only 3 agents, Douglas, Shirley, and Kendall Mary, and 100 search warrants the state had done. Now, once we got a bunch of documents released, I started clocking the same thing and making a timeline and with dates of when search warrants were sought after, not when they got shit back, okay, but when you were seeking stuff. So I want you guys to hear this straight from my girl. Straight from my girl. Okay, so.
An example.
Okay. Please listen very clearly. This is just a couple minutes and it's bomb. And then we're going to listen to Ashley Jennings' response to this, which is absolutely
an example of copies of grand jury subpoenas that we have received out of those more than 50. And what I didn't provide to you that goes.
Okay, so what she just handed the judge is Ashley Jennings typed up basically an Excel spreadsheet that said, here are all the search warrants, here are all the subpoenas, and these are the dates that we received them back. I don't give a fuck when you received anything back. Okay? I care when you were seeking the information and the affidavit that went with it, because I want to know what you knew and when you knew it, because that will go to your truth or lack thereof in your statements to obtain your probable cause. You fuck. And Ashley Jennings knows exactly what they're after. And this is where you just like, you ask yourself, do you believe in someone like Ashley Jennings? And the answer is no. I would never believe in her to prosecute my case if I was a victim. Because I can't fuck with somebody that I don't trust. And Ashley Jennings and Bill Thompson are people that I would never trust.
Goes behind that. What we got with those is the subpoenas include attachment A, which explains what is being subpoenaed. And then what has been produced is the responses to those subpoenas. And in some of the subpoenas, we also have the certification by the person who has produced the records in response to the subpoena. Some of them are missing. We have asked the state to produce all of the subpoenas, and their response is that they are not in possession and control of those subpoenas, and they do not intend to use the subpoenas as an exhibit. And we have not justified why we need those subpoenas, and for those reasons, they are not going to produce them. I'd like to begin by saying that as it relates to any argument that the state is not in possession and control, rather than beat the dead horse on that issue, Idaho Supreme Court came down in 2023 and made it crystal clear that anybody that's acting on behalf of as an agent of the state puts those records in the hands of the state, and they need to produce them. State versus Pendleton, 2003. The other thing is that in terms of the state arguing that they are not going to use a subpoena as an exhibit, that is not in and of itself a defense to not produce a document to us. We have a million reasons why we need to look at documents. We understand that out of the 51 terabytes that have been produced, that not all of that is evidence that's going to be coming for the court or the jury, but it doesn't mean that they aren't material or exculpatory. The subpoenas, based on reviewing the records, are in the hands of basically 3 agents. There is an FBI.
Now, we have the suppression hearing, and 3 subpoenas went out. Just most recently, a stipulation went out that these people, don't know if all of them, but there was a stipulation that they could testify via Zoom. One is a Deus Tecum subpoena, which is you are getting actual physical documents. Okay. And this is the defense seeking these people out to have at their suppression hearing. So listen to this part right here. She says 3 people, these are 3 FBI agents, that those 3 people are responsible for 71 subpoenas.
FBI forensic agent by the name of forensic accountant, Michael Douglas. There's a special agent, Travis Shirley, and there is another agent, Mary Tyndall. These are the 3
Mary Kindle or Kindle. I can't understand that pronunciation, but those 3. Now listen up.
Agents that are receiving the subpoenas, reaching out to the providers that they're serving and asking for the documents. For the court to understand why we need these documents, I want to tell you what we're doing with discovery and timelines.
Okay, so listen up here. She explains it perfectly, like amazing. Like there's no hiding anything here. The defense is telling them why we need this. And this is exactly why she's saying, you know, Ashley Jennings thinks that she can type up some freaking Excel spreadsheet and hand it to us. That's what I would have done with that shit. We want the physical documents. We will make our own Excel spreadsheet. If you want to supply that Excel spreadsheet with the actual physical shit that we're asking for, but by all means, go right ahead. Because literally, if they're doing a good job, they should already have it, and it should be organized. And because this is the stuff that they were relying on to arrest their suspect and go forward with a death penalty case. Okay. So here she's going to explain it very, very well.
There are more than 100 search warrants in this case. There are more than 50 grand jury subpoenas in this case. You've heard all kinds of information about the probable cause affidavit and the timing of that. Timing in this case for the defense is everything. So we are creating timelines that put
these lawyers already. So as much as I love Richard Allen's defense team, okay, these attorneys, this is back in May, and they were doing it back. This is 2024 May's hearing. But even before that, they were doing this. They understand and know, because anybody in life, whether it's in law or it's in anything that you're going to deal with, a timeline is everything. Okay, if you're going to argue anything in life, the timeline. And how valuable it is and how important it is. And boom, timeline. Timing is everything in this case.
Put in the dates of affidavits of warrants, the information that's received, and the date that it's produced. With subpoenas, when we don't get a copy of the subpoena and all we get is the warrant or is the subpoena return, we don't know the scope of what the state has asked for. We don't know the date that the subpoena was served. And in some of them, we don't know that there is a certified return. So we can't take our timeline on warrants and our timeline on the probable cause affidavit and our timeline on everything else that we're putting in there and interlay the subpoena information that the state is getting. And we are desperate to find out the timeline in this case and when the state knew what and when. There's no question that motions.
When the state knew what, and when did they know that? Why is that important for the defense to know? For the truthfulness of statements that you would make in a probable cause to obtain then the next thing that you're going and getting and why you're going and getting it. And how do you have probable cause to do this? This is what they are hiding.
Motions to suppress are coming. Motions to suppress are coming on warrants.
Motions to suppress are coming. Here we are, motherfuckers.
And whether or not those motions to suppress are based on Frank's material because misrepresentations are made depends on the timeline.
Is that hard to understand? We want to rule out if you guys did anything shady. And if you didn't, that's great. Okay? A Frank's comes from when you are lying. When police are knowingly omitting things, knowingly being deceived, lying. I'm just making it so blunt to say, like, here, cheap seats. It's when the police, the conduct of the police is totally unethical and downright false. That there's no truthfulness in your statements, and you're knowingly saying this stuff, knowing that there's no truthfulness.
So if there's a representation made in a warrant that things happened in a certain way, if we are able to look at the timeline and say, we know that the state knew this when, that gives us an answer on whether or not the suppression issue includes a truthful statement in the affidavit. And if I'm not making sense, I want you to tell me to clarify that. But we need to know the timeline of all of the evidence in this case and when the state knew what it knew, or why certain things were being looked at before Mr. Koberger's arrest or well into late in the year in 2023 related to the victims, and try to piece together, is that something that the state is still seeking because they're pursuing the alternate suspects that exist in this case? There's so many things that we're trying to understand. So what we're asking you to do is enter an order compelling them to produce the subpoenas. You see that they had at least 2 in their possession that they possess, and it will clarify it for us. And we will be able to create our timeline and put all of these things together and know when and why the state was doing these things. And just to add one other component, you're hearing about cell phone records and cell phone records today being produced on warrants. Well, there were several sets of cell phone records that were produced pursuant to a grand jury subpoena. Still not clear to us why warrant versus subpoena, and they're different providers. And some of it's for phone numbers that we have to figure out who those phone numbers are. But all of
Do you hear this?
this information is critical and material for us to be able to do the case, to do our work.
And so we find out then in another hearing, 67 devices. This just mumbled jumbled shit everywhere.
Work in this case. So I would ask that you enter an order to compel, and that way the state has the ability to take that to the FBI agents and say, the court has entered an order, we've got to produce the subpoenas, and we'll get the subpoenas. To the extent that the state may stand up and say, we've got this TUI demands, we've got to deal with TUI. I just want to make it really clear for the court that TUI's not an obstacle. TUI's a hoop to jump through. The code related to 28 CFR 16.21 specifically states that the purpose of TUI is not to prevent federal agents from giving states discovery in a criminal case. Purpose of TUI is because these federal departments want to know when certain records are leaving their files. Understandable, but it's not meant to keep us from getting records that we need in this case.
Thank you. Response?
Mr. Judge.
Jennings?
Well, simply put, we can't give over what we don't have.
Oh, fuck
And
you, Ashley.
We don't have the majority of the.
Okay, so she stands up and this is her response to this, okay? Simply put, we cannot turn over what we don't have. Now it's so amazing because we obviously already know the order that came from this, and Judge was just like, whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Ashley, you are the prosecuting attorney here, and anything that and anybody that you used to facilitate this case, you are going to go get that shit because it is part of you. Like, you may not physically have it, but 100% it's yours. Like, I don't give a shit if you physically have it or not. And the courts don't care either. If you used an agency to go and get something, it is in your control. Okay, honey? You knew that though, right? So for you to even just stand up and argue this right here, I love it though. I love it when people have to make arguments. Do you think that she's passionate about what she's about to say here? I don't see any passion. I see somebody FUCK'd.
These subpoenas. What we do have, we've turned over. I reached out to the U.S. Attorney's Office. They advised they're not going to provide.
What? Why?
I've reached out to the U.S. Attorney's Office. Okay. And I just would love to know if that phone call ever happened. I've reached out to the U.S. Attorney's Office and they're not going to provide that.
Because they don't provide subpoenas. You know, just like most grand jury material, it's sealed and not typically provided.
Not typically,
not provided.
but even with a TUI letter, that wouldn't give it. We provide, they wouldn't follow that.
We have not. I'm not sure.
So you didn't talk to
But
them.
beyond that, though, even if they were to provide it, I still don't understand how this moves the needle one way or the other.
Moves the needle. Love it. Love it. Because we're over here trying to thread the needle. The state is. And saying that this happened within like amount of time. And that we did all of this just like so I don't know how this moves the needle. What are you? I mean, she broke it down for a second grader to follow along with why they need it. Did anybody not? Was anybody losing it there to not understand why they need what they need?
You can tell I've detailed there's 71 federal grand jury subpoenas. And in my response, I've detailed exactly what they were for and what records were received so that you can get the scope.
She says you can get the scope based on what we received. I love it. Are you kidding me? What if nothing came back on something? How would I get the scope if nothing came back on something? What if certain things just didn't exist, right? And they just only sent what they had and didn't say, you asked for this, and we don't have those things. Okay. I mean, literally these arguments are weak. They're pathetic.
Of what was requested from the actual records. The piece of paper that was given over saying, give us these records is all they're asking for, but they have the records. They have the
piece of paper that they are asking for. Like, why do you need to know what we asked for? No, Ashley, they want that piece of paper. They also want the affidavit. And they want to make sure that the date is on there of when you sought it out. Like, when did you go to obtain it? That's a date. And then the date that you served it. And then the date that you got it back. Like, all those dates. Do you understand that prosecutors and defense attorneys, they email each other all the time? Okay. And this would be something that's so easily handled through email. Hey, what dates do you need here? Because let me cross-reference what we have. Let me see what I can get you. Like, what do you need? What do you need? The only time you start doing shit like this, like they're just being very basic here to say, like, this timeline that you got to my, client here in this timeline and how everything portrayed, it's not basically adding up. It's not adding up. There's a lot of problems. Okay. And we have the right to defend our client because our client has the right to face any and all of his accusers. And if records are accusing him of something, what I mean by that is, you know, what records were you going off of? What statements? Who? Those could be people. Those could be, you know, documents. I mean, unbelievable.
Important part of this.
So I have the timing based on the subpoenas
Off of
that
the
you
records.
provided to the defense.
Off of the records provided. You can tell the scope as well as what they're for. And I've detailed exactly what they were for, the scope, in my response.
Okay.
Any response?
Oh God, yeah, here we go. Buckle up, Ashley.
Judge, I wouldn't be wasting the court's time asking for this if the questions were answered based on the state's response.
So matter of fact, Judge, I would not be wasting the court's time if we had this shit. Like, why would I come here and ask for stuff if I had them? Or if they, like, what the hell? Right? Like, who's got time for this?
To our request for discovery. Timing is critical on when a subpoena is served, what was the scope, then we can look at the documents to see if they are actually responsive to the scope. And knowing the timing of when that was served versus when it's produced to us is different. And again,
Do you hear that big difference right there? I don't need the date of when you produce this to us. I need the date of when it was produced. When did you go and obtain this? And then there's going to be another date of when you served it. And there's going to be another date of when they gave you the fucking shit back from either the subpoena or the search warrant, whatever it may be that we're talking about. There's 3 different dates there. 3 different columns. Some of them may all be the same day because, hey, I obtained the search warrant on this day. I served on this day. And then lo and behold, I got it back the same day. Okay, great. But you're still going to have 3 columns, and each subpoena or search warrant is going to have, you know, an Excel spreadsheet column or row. And then you have your columns. This is like 101. This is such 101 that I did it on my own channel with what we were given. And I'll show you guys, because I found the documents to prove that I got all the 767 documents before they were taken off the internet. I printed them all.
I mentioned some of these things are pre-arrest of Mr. Koberger, and some of it is in the middle, and some of it is, you know, frankly, months after the fact, if not a year after the fact, for where they're looking for things related to the victims. And
you guys, a year after Mr. Koberger was arrested, she is saying they are still either subpoenaing and or serving search warrants a year after he was arrested for stuff pertaining to the victims. Are you I mean, I'm just like, you know, this was a hearing in May, a hearing that the state wanted it to be closed, and Brian Koberger was like, no, they wanted all of it to be, you know, open. So, hey, Court TV, you guys are full of shit, lying sack of shits. And you guys are lying for what purpose? Because you guys are just don't know the material, or because you have an agenda, because you're bought and paid. You're bought and paid for. I'm just so happy that I'm not bought and paid for. I will never be bought and paid for.
Can I ask a question? Because Ms. Jennings just said that that the dates, well, all the subpoenas that were provided to you, 71 subpoenas,
71.
and each one of those had the scope of what the request was in the subpoena, and that it would be dated. No,
That's not true.
that's not.
That's not true.
There are all kinds of different records and different methods that the people that were the businesses and the people that were asked to produce the records produce them in different form. I do not know when they received the subpoena, the timing of it, and I do not know for all of these what was the scope of what was asked for versus what was produced. I do know what's produced, but I don't know the timing. And the answer of the date discovery provided, which is in Exhibit 1, that the date that a discovery is provided to us doesn't answer the first two questions that I have, which is the timing of when they asked for it and the scope that was stated in the subpoena of what they asked for. Some companies were asked probably for a certain number of months, and they didn't have records that were responsive to those number of months, right? Because when the state's doing this investigation, they're not.
Okay, so now think about that. Now go back to the Amazon, okay? And so when Maury asked for that March timeframe, okay, and then he only asked for the stuff up until December 6th, what a fuck job. I mean, those type of mistakes, that's what led to the defense team realizing, like, wait a second, what the hell has gone on here? How the state has claimed that they got to Brian Kober, and none of this is accurate. And why is this all a jumbled mess? And why would we have to be hiding how we truly got to this suspect who then, hey, oh my God, yes, it's truly him. And then we tested his DNA and his DNA matches the sheath, like fucking awesome, right? Like what, but like it should just be as awesome as that. And it should be like, there was such amazing police work and so many agencies came together and put their egos aside. And, you know, we nailed this son of a bitch, right? That's the problem, is that that's not what's happening now. And the suppression hearing is going to prove why they're not that way right now. Because if you violated his rights, which means you violated my rights, I have a huge fucking problem with that, because I don't believe that any of that was necessary. But I want to find out why. Why? Because people always ask me, well, Lana, why do you care if you got the right guy? Why do I care? Because I see them getting the wrong person a hell of a lot. And they used to do it all the time with Black people. Why do you think the Innocence Project is around? Why do you think people have falsely confessed to murders that they never committed and ever weren't even there, to then be exonerated? Because of poor policing, poor police practices. That's why.
Not necessarily knowing exactly what records exist. So being able to be specific is important. And I want to touch on this issue of it. It's not in their possession. I get that. But you have complete control over what evidence is going to be coming into this case with your orders. You make it crystal clear. Produce it, or it's not coming in. That's the first level of sanction. And then we can just get going from there. You know, something that's destroyed, you can't produce that, there's going to be a spoliation instruction. Something that we keep repeatedly asking for and it gets past time, we're going to knock the death penalty off the table. You know, you have control to get these issues that we're struggling with fixed by saying, this is my order, produce it, or there's going to be a sanction.
You may be overestimating my power.
I think you're
control
underestimating your power.
Well, I have a good sense of where my power starts and ends. So I don't know. I mean, there's so much discovery that has been shared.
Does it matter how much discovery has been shared?
All of these 71 subpoenas, have they been provided to me at this point? Because I don't think I've seen them.
No, they went through a federal grand jury. So this is, we haven't seen anything in terms of grand jury testimony, transcripts. What I have surmised based on my federal practice, because I spent about 50% of my time in federal court.
Right here, Ashley is whispering into Bill's ear. Okay. And so right here, Judge is maybe awoke to like, are you not reading these documents, buddy? But here this is the first time that we get to hear that there was the fucking feds. Okay. They were trying to indict Bryan Kohberger, or hear what she's about to say, which is, no, we're going to do this.
Is that they used a federal grand jury as an investigative tool because the FBI is partnering with them. That makes complete sense. These subpoenas are in the hands of the 3 agents that I gave you the names of. They haven't come through you. They're in the hands of the agents. And so it's a matter of them just gathering the records that those agents have in their possession and providing to us. And it helps us create this timeline in a case where discovery is being given to us as if we're living in a snow globe and it's just swirling around us and we're constantly having to put it together. So, you've asked us several times, what can I do to help you guys get your work done? This is one of those things. Let us see the subpoenas so we can overlay this in our timeline.
But you just want the subpoenas. You don't necessarily are going to get the response.
We have the responses. We have the records. But what the records don't tell us is what was in the subpoena. It's like a warrant return. What is a warrant based on? It's based on an affidavit.
So this is what you want. The paper that says, this is what we want.
And the Exhibit A that's attached to that, which I didn't give you a copy of Exhibit A, but Exhibit A is attached to each one of those. And then it specifies to the company, you're looking for phone numbers that are this, and this for these dates.
That doesn't have the date on that when it was served?
Those subpoenas tell us, we know when they are served because it comes back with a date on it. And then, and then the attachment A has the scope of what they've asked for. What we've gotten is the documents without, it's like not having the affidavit to the warrant return.
Okay. I think I understand that. And I'm going to go back to Ms. Jennings and just clarify.
All right, Ms. Jennings, what do you got?
What have they been given already?
They have been given records in response to all 71 of those federal grand jury subpoenas.
Do they have dated on there? Because that's...
Many of them do. You can see that from the description of the conference that I provided to the court. I can't say that all of them do, but many of them do.
I can't say that all of them do, but many of them do. Now here, look at Anne and look at Elisa. They're looking at each other because they're like, I mean, is she really going to continue on? She knows that she knows which ones we want, and she knows that those are the ones that do not have the dates. Okay? Unfucking believable. This is like, I'm like a kid waiting for Christmas this Thursday.
Well, that's very important, apparently, for the defense, as Ms. Mathis said that timing is everything here. So I think that's what they're really after. That's one of the things they're after is just the time frame.
Well, duh.
We can seek to inquire.
We can seek to inquire. Listen to her. We can seek to inquire what, Ashley?
As to, because what I keep hearing is they need to know the date that these various companies received the subpoena.
No shit, Ashley. Now, if you're a good lawyer, Ashley, you already know why they need it. So either you're playing dumb and you're lying and misleading the tribunal, or you're a fucking horrible attorney to not know why these would be important. And I don't know which is worse.
We can still inquire. It's provided on a lot of these,
right.
But
me get still inquire. Well, I thought you just already inquired and he said he wasn't going to turn it over. I would fucking pull her phone records. Fuck this bitch. She is a liar. She is a liar.
But on the ones we're missing, we can attempt to inquire and find out the date that it was served, and we can still do that without.
Yeah, the date that it was served, but I also want the date that you went and obtained it, because sometimes, like you did in the Reddit search warrant for yourselves, you went and obtained the search warrant on 11/20. 2022, 11/20. That's, I mean, fuck, you guys were still in the house collecting evidence, okay? In here, you went and obtained a Reddit search warrant for only Kaylee, but just sat on it for until December 1st. Why would anybody do that? You're supposed to get search warrants because it's priority and you have probable cause, all these things, right? And it's important to your investigation. Or did you realize, oops, I can't serve this yet because then it's going to let off a little timeline that we're not supposed to know something yet? That's what it looks like to me. Or it just got buried on his desk. Oops, I forgot to serve this, so I guess I gotta go do. I find it strange that you would be going after Kaylee's Reddit and no one else's on November 20th.
Providing the piece of paper.
November 20th, 7 days after the murders, just giving their second press conference that same day, when we don't even know that answer.
Well, besides the timing, what's the relevance to this this
Now,
scope
here we
that was requested? And you know,
What's the relevance? But
yeah,
we're not relying on any of this.
I know.
Ashley says, we're not relying on any of this. Wait a second. We're not relying on any of this? Listen, watch the response to this. Complete and utter lies. Look at Bass's just like starts grinning.
Like, what do you think they think is relevant?
What do you think they think is relevant? What kind of question is that? I love it. Watch this.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Mr. Thompson, so what is the relevance?
Here she goes. God,
But
I love her.
aside with the timing, okay, and the scope.
This is hilarious. She's like, do I really have to spell this out for the court?
Judge, I'm not going to give you the specific date right now in open court on one of the subpoenas, but they used a subpoena to get one of the most critical pieces of evidence in this case. And they know that.
Okay.
And they are going to use that.
It's something that I don't know about.
Well, I mean, you probably you do know of it. It's in the probable cause affidavit.
Okay.
Okay. They are going to use it. Like, is this, so then here, Ashley, I got to speak on this.
Thank you. All right. Ms. Jennings, you
What
want
I can tell you is that for the majority of the stuff, we did state search warrants, and we've received many.
For the majority of the stuff, we did state search warrants. See how Elisa said they're relying on a subpoena? They're relying on a subpoena for, it's the most critical piece. They're relying on the subpoena, and the subpoena is federal. And then she stands up and she's like, I want to speak on that. Yeah, to tell the world what, Ashley? That you relied on what? Search warrants, right? They came from what, you fuck? Where do your state fucking search warrants come from, Ashley?
But many of them do.
Those subpoenas tell us, we know when they are served because it comes back with a date on it. And then,
Right.
and then the attachment A has the scope of what they've asked for. What we've gotten is the documents without, it's like not having the affidavit to the warrant return.
Okay. I think I understand that. And I'm going to go back to Ms. Jennings.
Okay, go to Miss Jennings here.
Your Honor, my intent.
Hold on.
Okay, and the scope.
Okay.
Judge, I'm not going to give you the specific date right now in open court on one of the subpoenas, but they used a subpoena to get one of the most critical pieces of evidence in this case.
I believe it was December 6th.
And they know that.
Okay.
And they are going to use that.
They are going to use that. That Amazon. They are going to use that.
It's something that I don't know about.
Well, I mean, you probably you do know of it. It's in the probable cause affidavit.
Okay. Thank you.
Ready? Here's Ashley.
All right. Ms. Jennings.
What I can tell you is that
What I can tell you is
for the majority of the stuff
the majority of the stuff. I don't give a fuck about the quantity. It's the quality, okay? It's like sex, Ashley. Nobody cares how much you're having. It's how good is it, girl?
we did state search once.
We did
And we've received many of these records that way.
that fucking
Okay,
bullshit.
thank you.
And that's why we're having the suppression hearing. Because Ashley, you just fucking lied your tits off. You lied right there, Ashley. You are so you're so fucked. Now I'm gonna turn this over to Hector for some bonus receipts here. Absolutely, like I need to make a hype video. You guys know how they do hype videos for like playoff games? I want to make a hype video for this suppression hearing. All right. I'm gonna slow-mo walk Matt, Elise into the room. I'm gonna slow-mo walk like, everybody and like gear them up against each other, because this is like, I mean, if you think that these people are getting along, they're not. I wouldn't be getting along with somebody that was lying either. But here, let's take a look. Hector, what do you got for me? Well, I went back into the vault, pulled out some stuff, thought you might want to show some people. Okay. Went back into the vault. All right. This is an old school pick. This is to show the game, the tie game, You have a teammate and you got to chug the wine out of the box wine. They take it out of the box and they just have their little, the pouch. Well, let's see here. Prosecutors in the case of, this is from CNN, prosecutors in the case of Brian Koberger, the man charged in the fatal stabbings of 4 University of Idaho students, demanded customer information from Amazon related to the purchase of knives as part of their investigation, according to newly unsealed court documents. We'll come back to this to talk about the issues they were having. This is just proof to show the suppression that was truly going on. All of these people, these are the dates that they obtained the information. And they must not be really good at their jobs, because this is to prove and show that I obtained it. All right. And notice that all of these people in mainstream media in one way or another had it and were trying to suppress the actual videos from incidences when this is Kaylee's ID. Okay, here we go. We'll come back. Oh, this is all the dates. I'm gonna zoom in on this. Chronological Moscow Police Department law enforcement work. The date that they went and got the cell towers, the date that came back, AT&T, just all this shit. This is from the vault. But yeah, I was doing what they were doing, because anybody that would know anything, you'd have to do this to see what they were doing. And again, another timeline. I'll actually come back to that. Ooh, here you go. This is a whiteboard original back in the day. Back out of this. Make it bigger. This was 1122 King Road house and all the people that lived in it and who their littles and who their bigs were and where and who they lived with prior to so just taking us down memory lane here. Ooh, Molly Gray. Let's talk about Molly Gray. Oh, here we go. Remember Kaylee posting October 11th, 2022, looking for a roommate in Austin. And then these are the people that responded, based off of the 34 weeks when I took the screenshot. 17 weeks. Ooh, this is to prove that Kaylee was not living at the house in 2021 when this happened. But she told Dustin Blaker when she was at Walmart and she called it in, she gave her address as 1122 King Road. She didn't live there. Look at the date of the offense. And it wasn't an offense. It was when she observed the woman she thought. Let's see. And I'm just curious if they ever went back and looked and see what cell tower Kaylee was on when she called police that day to compare it to, could you be at the stores and peeing off of the same cell towers and is it consistent? And that's something that I would look at. So what is this? Oh yeah, here you go. University of Idaho murders case discussion. This was swirling around, after the gag, April 1st, 2023. And they were like, hey, can we not talk about, when CSI received word of Kaylee seeing a masked man in the trees wooded area or in a tree? They turned their focus to the wooded area on the hill behind the house. Early reports from friends say that that night, Kaylee not only told friends in the house about seeing the masked man, but also possibly a couple of the neighbors. It's further been said that Dylan also saw him outside the first floor window. It appears from all the focus on the window, CSI found a handprint. So this goes out to Drunk Turkey. Maybe that's your print there. And then here, these are these pictures. Source, someone who has kids at U of I in the friends group. Stories never changed to this day. And it's not Crazy Kim. Woo! Again, just taking us down memory lane here. Oh, here's the documentation to prove that there was a big mega dump. And if you didn't print this out, see how it says 70 or 769 pages. Okay. This is my personal screenshot from my computer. And go and try to find this document anywhere with 769 pages. These were all the search warrants when they were all uploaded. And they pulled stuff. And so I was able to get the stuff that then because I printed all of this. Oh, guy in the tree. I know we've beat the delayed 911 call theory like a dead horse, but what I haven't seen mentioned is the fact that Kaylee supposedly saw a guy in a tree out back when letting Murphy out. It said that she alerted everyone in the house as well as some neighbors. I'm wondering if this is the reason for that 3 a.m. 911 call. Well, no, that's the Banfield call, right? And there was no call, you guys. They were undercovers and they called it in themselves. That's why it showed up. Yes, the general consensus is that Dee didn't realize what was really happening when she saw the masked man, even though they just saw a creepy dude in their tree. LOL. Take a minute to actually picture that. I would be repeat calling 911 just saying. So, and then what 3 a.m. 911 call? We don't know Kaylee took the dog out. Well, I don't care who took the dog out. Somebody took that damn dog out to go pee. And if you didn't, shame on you. But you would take your dog out. We don't know. I got this straight from the horse's mouth. That is 100% fact that they discussed before people went to bed that night seeing somebody in a mask. So that's going to come out. Promise. Now, this is the narrative of when Kaylee called when she was at Walmart. And so you can Kaylee Goncalves called to report she believes she saw an older female who had been reported as missing out of Coeur d'Alene in the Walmart in Moscow. Kaylee told me the female's name is possibly Sharon Archer. Kaylee told me the female was staring at her and her boyfriend when they were in the store and as they checked out. Kaylee told me she didn't see the missing person flyer until several hours later. And I thought that that's an interesting piece, is to like ask that. Well, did you see like a flyer or something? No. Like why are you even mentioning that? And the fact that she hadn't seen it until hours after that just is odd. It's odd. It's odd. It's odd like the motherfucking PCA. Like this statement is just like odd. Kaylee forwarded me the flyer. Kaylee told me she didn't see the missing person flyer until several hours later. So then she forwards me the flyer and I have electronically attached it to this report. So she would have emailed Blaker. They wouldn't give us the emails though. Anyways. Oh, Jake. Good old Jake. God, we got nothing but Jacks and Jakes up in this piece. Kaylee joined Extreme in June of 2022 as an intern on the U.S. commercial team. As someone new to the IT technology world, Kaylee approached the role with an insatiable eagerness to learn, tenacity to always ask for more responsibility, and so much potential with an incredibly bright future. So, Moscow, Idaho. The father of the slain University of Idaho student Yea Lana told Fox News Digital that the victims had big open gouges that were clearly the work of a sadistic male, and called police cowards for not sharing more with the public. Stephen said he asked the coroner, Kathy, how many times the victims were stabbed. And Salva said his daughter's injuries definitely did not match Mogan's wounds. They may have individually died from the exact same thing, being stabbed, but there are more details, he added. They're not even close to matching. The knife slashed open Kaylee's liver and lungs, he said. The grieving father paid for a copy of his daughter's death certificate, which included some of the details of her injuries. But he does not know whether his daughter or Maddie were the targets. I have my own suspicions, he said. And this is the Amazon warrant. The Now remind yourselves that they allegedly put out the internal BOLO on the 25th for the white Honda Elantra, right? And then on the 26th day of November, approximately 3:32 p.m., the following police officers served a search warrant for Amazon, okay, to look into these knives. All right, so I want to show you guys one last thing, and then I'll be done. All right, so October 30th, fake fight, and then fake fight. But October 11th, remember, we have the post of her looking for a roommate to move over and be in Austin, starting up, what's the date here? October 11th, February to June, because in January she was going abroad. So then, right here, November 3rd. So it's going in order. So Kaylee charged Xana for something. And this would be a week. The Thursday, not like the Thursday before, like it's the weekend before it. So like parents' weekend. All right. And don't know what this is obviously for, right? The same day, Xana charged Kaylee a Vista. A Vista is for the electricity, gas. All right. Now check this out. Then Maddie. Now, this would be the Friday of the weekend that this happened. Utilities, like, hey, yo. Because why? Well, I speculated back in the day and I said, well, it seems like Xana couldn't get the money out of Kaylee. And then Xana told that to Maddie. And so Maddie then sent this to Kaylee saying, utilities, because the same day, but after this, November 11th, power October. And your power is your electricity, gas. Okay. So Friday, she's asking again. 4 hearts. Like everybody hearting that saying, yeah, like pay. Now, Kaylee moved in June. And Kaylee put the Wi-Fi in her name. How do I know that? Well, because Kaylee was the one that was charging people for the Wi-Fi. So Kaylee charged Xana July Wi-Fi. Kaylee paid Xana on July 28th with a heart. Kaylee charged Haley, and that's who used to live in the house with Maddie, prior to all of them moving in that year. So whose ever responsibility was to pay Wi-Fi in that house, when Kaylee moved in and sublet or took over that person's lease, more or less, she took over the Wi-Fi. Now, whether they had somebody come out and obviously like, okay, can I just do a transfer into my name, or you guys have to come out and redo all of this shit? Remember with the router, they only looked at the charter from September of 2022 to, November, 19th or something. And I'll go back to saying this. Huge red flag for me is the murders happen on a weekend that Kaylee wasn't supposed to be there, but then decides to go there. Also, October 11th, for a fact, Kaylee's already made it known to people that at some point she's decided now that she's going to leave and no longer be at Moscow and go to Austin. She was supposed to go, though, in June. She's going to be like finishing out that whole year and then going in June. Well, something changed her mind. And I said that this is a very important thing. What changed her mind that she and what happened in that house, that Kaylee basically wasn't going to be there anymore. She wasn't paying the bills. Something had happened. And she was contemplating even going there that weekend. And then Dylan was the person that invited her as her plus one. It was not Maddie. Because for all we know, Maddie could have been somebody else's plus one, because was she no longer involved in the sorority, right? All I'll say is, though, you were so excited to move in with your best friend and sister to have that last year. Why wouldn't you finish it all the way out until June, when then you were going to be moving in with Jordan, whatever her last name is, Q, in Austin? Something happened. And then if you go listen to what Christy said, she asked the girls how everything went that night. Like, I talked to both girls and I asked them how, everything went. And it's like she subconsciously is telling us something that she knows, but we didn't know anything about. Why she'd be asking Maddie and Kaylee separately, like, hey, how did everything go? Like, how was everything? It's because shit wasn't okay. Something was up. Something had happened. And it's just like when girls have little tiffs, like little fights, Let's see. Yep. I've always wondered what Kaylee paying Maddie T on November 2nd was about. So, anyways, this suppression hearing is right now should be public. The IGG should be public, but we'll find out. Till next time, guys. Peace out, Girl Scouts. Thank you, moderators.
About the alcohol stuff, okay?
Okay, yeah.
But this is the second noise complaint we've had here tonight within 2 hours.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. Is this your place?
Yeah.
Perfect. You know why we're here?
I see noise.
Noise, yeah.
Yeah.
Big speaker right there.
Yeah.
Nothing against having a party. Once neighbors start calling in, then we have an issue.
Like brains, and like if you need Lana brains, you're gonna be in trouble.